Lopetegui will be sacked as West Ham United head coach, and it will be officially announced over the next couple of hours, early Wednesday afternoon. He has just finished training with the West Ham United players. He turned up to work as normal today, took training as usual. And once training has finished, which is now, it's just finished. Once training is finished, Lopetegui will be sacked by West Ham United, because just a few hours ago, as reported by Gonzo, he's first to report this one actually over in Climate Hugh and Damage Chat Patron, Graham Potter's deal is done. Graham Potter is currently or is already at the London Stadium. Depends how long it takes to get there. We got told about an hour ago maybe that Graham Potter was en route to the London Stadium for his media duties, for the photographs and whatnot. How long it takes him to travel there. So he may be there, he may be on the way as I am streaming this one at just after 12:30 on Wednesday afternoon. But Graham Potter's deal is done, en route to London Stadium. His agent is also en route to the London Stadium as well. So currently, West Ham sort of have two head coaches. They've got Lopetegui doing training and Graham Potter on way to hold up his shirt and get his snaps taken. So the announcement of Lopetegui being sacked will be early today, and Graham Potter could be tonight, it could be tomorrow. As we know, the media work at West Ham takes a little while, all the photos and stuff like that. So it can maybe be this evening and Graham Potter will be announced. I'm glad it's come to a conclusion. The problem is not everything comes to a conclusion today. There's still issues at West Ham. This week, the problem hasn't just been Lopetegui. There's been other problems too, but part of the issues are being resolved today by removing Lopetegui and hiring Graham Potter. So there's still some things to resolve going forward. Now, we believe one of the holdups, this is us claiming this at Hamish Chat, if you like, one of the holdups for the negotiations between Graham Potter and West Ham over the last couple of days hasn't just been the contract length, and it's not just been the clauses. So we understand it's going to be a 2.5-year deal, or a 6-month deal rather, and he has to hit certain metrics in order to get the automatic 2-year extension. Now, what those metrics are hasn't been leaked at all by anyone yet. We don't know what it will be. I can only imagine it'll be a points tally. I think to give him a league position one, it'll be tricky because of where we are in the league. We're quite a few points behind. I think we're 9 points behind Aston Villa, who's sitting 8th, which could be European qualification. So I think finishing 8th would be a bit ambitious. Avoiding relegation is too easy a clause. If it comes out that it's a 6-month deal, but as long as he avoids relegation, it's an automatic 2-year, I'll be a bit disappointed. That's not very ambitious from West Ham. I can only imagine it will to be to do with a points tally and or a goal difference or something like that rather than a league position. It can't be the FA Cup. Bearing in mind we play on Friday, you can't expect him to beat Aston Villa with 2 days preparations. I think that rules the FA Cup out. So I can only imagine it's to do with the league points. But one of the other things that Graham Potter has been negotiating with the board of West Ham United is over the budget, over the money allowed for the January transfer window. Now, this ties in a little bit with the news which came out last week, really, that David Sullivan will be taking charge of the transfer window. It ties in with that a little bit, doesn't it? So if it was Tim, I guess Tim Steidten could sit and talk to Graham Potter and say what the budget is, but ultimately Tim Steidten would have been the one in charge of spending that budget. But now Sullivan can sit there and speak to Potter and say, right, we've got this to spend. What do you want? And the rumours are it's a striker and a box-to-box midfielder. I still think we need a centre-back. I'm still a little bit concerned about the lack of centre-back talk around West Ham. I do think we're going to need one of them if Potter's going to go ahead and play 3-4-3 that we've seen at Chelsea, at Brighton. So it's fair to suggest he will continue using what has been his blueprint for his career so far. So I do think we need another centre-back. But that's been the negotiations. That's been the hold-up, as well as the other parts of the contract. So Potter's been promised a bit of money and business being done between now and the end of the transfer window, which is good. We need to do some business, and we're not going to get 5 or 6 players. This is January transfer window, but you can get 2. I always say if you get 1 player in, that makes a big impact on the second half of your season. So we're talking Bowen, Souček, Jesse Lingard, that kind of impact. I guess Calvin Phillips made a big impact. Not the one we like, but if you can get players in that can make a big difference, that's quite significant. And I would class that as a successful January transfer window. I think we might need 2. Depends on what the ambitions are. But if we can get in 2 really good players this window, maybe 3, I think that would be good. It'd be interesting to see what we do. We've got a lot of wiggle room with loan signings. Evan Ferguson, maybe. Dewsbury Hall, perhaps. That's 2 loan signings that we can do now. Don't listen to the people that say that we have to sign Solar before we loan Evan Ferguson. That's not true. That's incorrect. And if you want proof, I'm going to provide you proof, by the way. Look at Everton. They've got 4 players on loan, okay? So either the people that are telling you that we have to sign Solar or Todibo before we loan Evan Ferguson, they're either incorrect or Everton have broke the rules and nobody's discussing it. One of those 2 things are true, okay? So we can bring in 2 players on loan if we need to. I'm not saying I want Ferguson and Dewsbury Hall, but I think both tick what we're looking for. An energetic midfielder, I think he's that, and a striker, he's definitely that. And obviously he was successful under Graham Potter at Brighton too. So that sort of link makes a little bit of sense. So there you go. That's the news. It's just a case of waiting for the official announcement of Lopetegui. Then a bit later on, we'll get the official announcement from Graham Potter. In regards to Lopetegui, I'm glad he's going. I think the way that we've strung this out is a little bit cruel, but my sympathy only goes so far. I'm more angry at how difficult West Ham have made it rather than, as well as the treatment of Lopetegui to some extent. But listen, football managers are, a lot of them, listen, if you're going to swim in water with sharks, don't complain when you get bitten, right? And when David Moyes, let's be real here, and we could go back to beyond West Ham. This guy walked out of Wolves on the eve of a season starting. When he was manager of Spain, he stopped players negotiating with other clubs. Then he was negotiating with Real Madrid. So he's not squeaky clean himself. But even if you go back to even at West Ham last season, David Moyes is here. Lopetegui was there. He was wanting the West Ham job quite publicly. He was flirting with West Ham whilst David Moyes was here. So I've always got a little bit of, my sympathy can only go so far from people that when they get treated this way, well, you benefit from this as well a little bit. But I do think the way that West Ham have dragged this out has been a bit unnecessary. And I think letting him take the training session today just felt a little bit too far. They didn't need to do that. They could have sacked him last night or this morning and let someone else take that training session today, because they knew Potter was pretty much done. It just had to dot the I's and cross the T's, which they've done this morning. So too far from West Ham. Anyway, it's coming to a conclusion. He's been sacked. I'm pleased he's going. I think he was a terrible appointment in the first place, and it's worked out terribly for West Ham. I'm just glad that Sullivan's putting his hands up, admitting his mistake, moving on. As for Graham Potter, I'm going to do a video specifically about Graham Potter. One thing I will say, though, I feel, not just me, I feel a lot of people have got a bit of excitement back in. I've read a lot of things in the last few weeks, which is I don't care about West Ham anymore, and I understand it. I'm not sure it's completely true with everybody, because there's some subscribers I say that they say, oh, I don't care West Ham, I'm done with West Ham. Then a week later, they're kicking off about getting beat. Well, so the anger would suggest you still do care. But I think a lot of people have got their mojo back a little bit with this news that Lopetegui's gone, and or with Potter coming in. Even with people that have a little bit of suspicion regarding Potter, I think they've started to go, okay, now I've got a bit of excitement back into me ahead of the game against Villa and the game against Fulham on Tuesday as well. So I think it's given me, I was convinced Lopetegui wouldn't work. I'm not convinced Potter won't work, if that makes sense. I think it's an upgrade. I think he's better than Lopetegui, and I think he's more suited to the Premier League than Lopetegui. And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued as to what he can do. Still a bit with the deal, but I need to know all the details before we can discuss that, if you like. So goodbye, Lopetegui. I'm glad you're gone, and welcome, Graham Potter, and good luck to you. Hopefully it works out. JP, thank you very much for £2 super chat. He said, if we sign Potter, I will support Mill. I did say you said that. And I seen what else you said as well, JP. That doesn't have to happen. And the other thing you said won't be happening. Damien's a Villa fan, so he's getting his. I've just recorded a video with an Aston Villa fan, actually, Luke, which will go up tomorrow or Friday. Anyway, get your thoughts into the live chat. It could be mainly about Lopetegui being sacked, please. We could discuss Lopetegui as much as possible, because we could always do a video about Potter a bit later on in the week. Tonight or tomorrow, we can do a video about the appointment of Graham Potter once we know more details. But that's the latest Potter at London Stadium. Maybe he's doing one of those shirt things. That one over there. Let me turn the camera. There you go. There's Bona's one. Maybe he's going to get one of them. I'll see if I can get my hands on it. Potter 2025 with an asterisk. Then there's another shirt. Potter 2027. Maybe he's going to have two. Don't know which one we're going to use. Right then, get your thoughts into the live chat. Chippy says it's a chance for change. Well, there's definitely change. And Liam's excited for Potter. Aim says, no disrespect, we're saying this, but hopefully the players will be able to understand him as well. It's accurate. Lopetegui, in fairness, Lopetegui was the one that said there was communication issues. It's not like everybody's been pointing at him and slagging him off. Lopetegui himself has said there's a problem here. Dad's Our Job podcast says, hope all well. Have to get you on our podcast soon. Yes. Depends when. Not this week. Not next week. Not the week after. I'll tell you why. It's busy this week. Fulham next week, and I'm going to Scotland the week after. Possibly we can. Feels like I'm busy eventually. Yes. Like says, we've handled this as disgraceful. We're such a classless club. It was bad what happened with Moyes, but to do it again, classless David Sullivan. Yeah, don't say classless club, because I think that includes everybody. Classless David Sullivan, I think, is and Karren Brady. I'd put her in the same bracket, and that's what I'd say there, because when it comes to it, we do have a lot of grace about us sometimes, West Ham United, as fans as well. You know, if there's ever a tribute for something, we always stand up, applaud, have the minute silence, whatever it is. Chris says Lopetegui's mistake in his eyes was his backroom staff. Not one of them would question his choices. They're all gone as well, I should say. He's survived. One man out of Lopetegui's backroom staff will be here under Graham Potter. One man. And I love it. It's almost like my own one. I don't know why. It's becoming a bit of a meme. It's something I'm going to hold on to. Same with Jordan Miles. I still remember Jordan Miles. Who's coming on doing an interview at some point. But anyway, the one man has survived. Javi Valero. He's going nowhere. He is staying here. He was here under Pellegrini. He was here under David Moyes. He was here under Lopetegui. And he's going to be here under Graham Potter as well. Javi Valero is going nowhere. He was here under Sullivan Bilic. Was he here under Bilic? I think he was. I can recall him with his perm in the same training jumper as Sullivan Bilic was. So I'm pretty sure he was here under Slav. Javi Valero is remaining. The rest of them have been sacked. Off they go. John says European push. Now let's hope that we get the West Ham way back. Brian says if he was smart, Potter would address the fan base today, asking for backing. A few chosen words. I don't think they need to ask. I think most people get behind the new manager, even if you don't want them. I think you're allowed to say you don't want Potter, but support Potter. That's allowed. I know some people will tell other people off for suggesting such things. If they say, well, I'm not sure, but I'll get behind him. You can do both, okay? I think most people wanted Lopetegui to succeed, even if they thought he was the wrong appointment. You're allowed to want Potter to succeed, but think he's the wrong appointment. The two don't have to be the same. Charlie saying Valero joined in 2018 under Pellegrini, legend of the club. Paint him on the side of the stadium. Randy's asking about Dan Ashworth. I don't think he'll come in. I don't think we'll take Dan Ashworth. I just can't see it. Ian said, I'm happy Lopetegui's gone. He's been very disappointing. Now we have to hope that Graham Potter can do a Harry Potter and move us on. Don't think it will be easy, but I have a little hope at least. That's just it. That's it for me. Hope. Hope is back. Chris is saying we're going to have to bring out the turtleneck tops. Graham Potter loves a turtleneck, or maybe he does need the polo neck ones. But he loves a turtleneck, Graham. Him and Pep, it's the turtleneck derby. Not that we've got to play City again this season, do we? No, we played them twice. Liam said Lopetegui failed at Wolves. Still don't know why we appointed him in the first place. Was always going to fail. Bayer said terrible way to treat a man. Lost his dad 2 weeks ago. He wasn't up to coaching in the Premier League, but the man is still human and deserved to be released in the right way. Classless from West Ham. Hammer 89, the announcement, it could be anytime soon. Basically, he took training. He's done his job. And the one thing I will say is credit to him. I would have called in sick today if I was Lopetegui. I'd been on the phone saying, "Oh, Kaza got something not coming in today," but he's turned up and he's taken training. And he also, Lopetegui wanted, the press conference, the pre-Aston Villa match press conference was today, and West Ham postponed it. Lopetegui wanted to do it, so it was due to be 1 o'clock. Lopetegui was wanting to do that, but the club took it out of his hands and postponed it, but still allowed him to take training. So I believe this morning Lopetegui turned up to the training ground, and prior to taking training, said goodbyes to people at the training ground, and then carried on taking training. So I know it's his job. It's what he gets paid to do. He's going to be £3 million. I know he's going to get paid a handsome sum of money for failing at West Ham United. But I think sometimes people assume money equals no mental health issues, right? I think, when a player goes through, but they're rich, so they can deal with it. Not sure about that, and I think fair play to him, because it wouldn't have been easy being Lopetegui, and apparently he's really angry and really upset with the way he's been treated. And Lopetegui is going to have a couple of hand grenades here. That Spanish journal, I need Gonzo, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Guillem Balagi, him, that geezer, who's been inoffensive, to be honest with you. Yesterday he did that tweet and there was a bit of cryptic, people in the background have been throwing fuel on fire. Do you know what? I agree with him. I actually think what I've read from him in the last couple of days, the Spanish journal, I agree with pretty much everything he said. I think there has been somebody that's making it a bit more difficult than it needs to be. I don't think it's been great working conditions for him in the last month. And then today, I just seen someone defending his mate, to be honest with you. But he will have an exclusive. I'm very confident in the next couple of weeks there will be videos with him and Lopetegui where Lopetegui will be revealing all. But the only thing that will be preventing him from doing so is West Ham have NDAs in their contracts. It depends on the difference with Lopetegui and Wolves is he walked out of there and ripped up his contract. But with West Ham, if they pay him off, he might find himself a little bit gagged to some extent. But I do think there'll be a couple of hand grenades from Lopetegui coming towards West Ham. So we'll see. Michael says the new manager should be like a breath of fresh air. The mood is likely to lighten and hopefully players' confidence will return. Angus says, whilst I don't think Potter will have us on the European charge this season, one thing I am sure he will do is improve players who have become bang average under Lopetegui. Yeah. Lawson said Lopetegui can't walk out because he would lose his £3 million. Tommy says awful way to let go over Lopetegui. I feel bad for him, even though it hasn't worked out. Jones says he wasn't up to the job, but he looks like a haunted man. Whoever appointed Lopetegui needs sacking. Yeah, Sullivan. Mark says, what's that purple thing? It's the cable for the mic. It's just a wire. That's all. I thought I was getting a nice one. I should probably have got a black one, really, because it sort of blends in. But Hammer 89 says, good riddance to rubbishy. I'm a bit like that. I think we could have handled it better today, but I'm not going to pretend I'm not glad he's gone. I'm happy he's off ski. Ralph says his interactions dropped by 95% under Lopetegui. He's glad he's gone. I have noticed, Ralph, Jay says Guilherme may get a chance now. I can see it. Sofiane said he's not watched the game since the Wolves won. Fed up of it. Friday night I'll be watching and can't wait to see Graham Potter in charge, who I wanted in the summer. Savas says Potter is a Villa fan. Poetic for his first game be Villa away. I didn't know that one. That's good. I didn't know that he was a villain. I didn't think he supported a different team. Just had no idea. Alan says no idea how the players are supposed to prepare. Well, Lopetegui's been preparing for them. The thing is, it depends on what Potter wants. He might come in and he might want to be in charge of Friday. He might also say, no, thank you. I'll have to fool them one because it's not enough time to prepare. He might come in and have a look at what Lopetegui was planning and decide actually he was actually planning the right thing here. It'd be bold of Potter to rip it all up because he's only going to have one training session tomorrow. He's going to have one training session tomorrow with the players, and that's it. Can you really get your ideas across in the space of one training? I'm not sure you can, but what you can do certainly is boost morale and get the players motivated, get them looking forward to the Villa game. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to get the players chomping at the bit to get out there on Friday. Chicken Run says, I didn't genuinely, I click on some comment. I don't know what they say. I just trust it's going to have something to read out. But he's left us a kind review of our Patreon. Thank you very much, Chicken Run. Much appreciated. Peter said, Potter should say to the players, go out there, enjoy yourself, and do it for the fans. Steve says, all those not in favour of Potter, let's get it right. Give him a chance. Anything's better. I think they will, Steve. I think I may be a bit naive. I just assume most people get behind Potter. Do you know something? I thought Lopetegui was crap. I shut my mouth once he was appointed. I made my feelings on him clear before we hired him. When he got hired, I shut my mouth a bit because I thought, well, I'm not going to piss on everyone's fire and sit here moaning about him when he's come in. And I wanted him to do well. I was hoping he would prove me wrong and he'd go on and become a good appointment. I just assume everybody that doesn't want Potter will be behind Potter. Maybe there will be some people that aren't, but I don't think it's a wild assumption. Tom said Potter was who I wanted when Moyes went, but didn't think we had a chance due to Sullivan's previous comments. In fact, Sullivan has doubts is a good thing as we can't trust his judgment. Yeah, so we've got the guy that Sullivan doesn't want. Let's celebrate it. I can understand that, to be honest with you. I think Sullivan had to take a little bit of a backseat on this appointment because he was one of those pushing for Lopetegui, and then by sacking him, you're admitting you got it wrong, to then say, no, but I'm going to get the next one right. I think you've got to say, well, okay, I'll listen to outside noise. The wild thing is, by the sounds of it, it's Karren Brady that's been the one pushing for this, and she's the one that's got this deal done by the sounds of it. She's the one that's been quite strong and quite important in negotiations for getting Potter over the line. We're now we didn't get in the summer. We didn't get Tim Steidten's choice, but we've got Sullivan's one, and now we're at the point where we've got Karren Brady's manager. So this should be interesting to see if it works out. Randy says, "What does Potter have to achieve to be considered a success?" The thing is, just to some extent, for me, between now and the end of the season, it can't be measured by facts, black and white. It's like the eye test for me. If I'm enjoying it more and I'm feeling like there's something, the problem I had, and this is where I can't get on board with the criticism of Ruben Amorim when he's been gone to Man U, and there's been people that have said, "Well, good job we didn't get him, isn't it?" etc., etc. I almost suggesting that if Amorim come to West Ham, we'd be crap. But I can see what Amorim's trying to do at Man U. I can see a formation. I can see a style of play. And it's not worked yet. But I think I can watch that and think I feel like there's something there. And once he gets his players in, it may work. It might not. When Areola went to Bournemouth, he was crap at the start. Well, let's not rewrite history. He wasn't great. I remember watching Bournemouth when he first went in. They were struggling to get results, but you could see what they were trying to do. You could see the formation. You could see the tactics. You could see the style of play. And you did feel once he's got the players he wants and the players have got used to him, it may yield success. And I would suggest it has done. And I think with Potter is, if I can see a plan and an identity between now and the end of the season, and tactically it's working, but perhaps we just don't have the personnel, I'd be okay with that. And that's something I never felt with Lopetegui from day one, really. I didn't really feel like there was much of a game plan, that there was much of an identity, that we had a way of playing. And that's why I've been quite pro sacking him for quite some time, because there was no evidence to suggest he could turn it around. There's barely anything during games you could point to and say, that worked, let's do that going forward. That's why. So what do I want from Potter? I want hope, but I also want to watch West Ham and feel confident that Potter knows what he's doing and what he wants to do at West Ham. And with the summer transfer window, we could get better next season and aim for European football next season. So how do I measure it? Charlie's in the live chat. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say what Charlie would say. Vibes, my feelings. So it's a bit of a difficult one, but that's what I want from him. Thank you to Andy for £2 super chat. Says he better not start Souček. Listen, I thought Lopetegui wouldn't start him. He's been one of the better players, albeit the bar is quite low. So I'm not going to get into the Souček under Potter thing just yet. However, someone far more intelligent than me when it comes to football, and a far better presenter than me when it comes to YouTube, and James Alcott thinks Souček's going to struggle. So James Alcott thinks Souček might struggle under Graham Potter. I'm dodging it. There's your politician's answer. Dom said we need to start playing like a team lately. Whether we scrape a win or a draw, I have zero confidence. That is the first thing that needs to change under Potter. That's what I was trying to say, but in a long-winded way. A couple more questions and we'll wrap this one up. Car P says, with Lopetegui going nowhere, or we were going nowhere, I think Potter will do well. Team needs some major changes, but I'm confident he is up to it. I've got a bit of hope. I've got a little bit of hope. Kyle says, can't see us being in top 8 with the squad we've got. Worst defense we've had for a long time. He will sort that, by the way. I feel quite confident that Graham Potter will sort the defence out. He had a good defence at Brighton. He was just putting the ball in the back of the net that was a problem. Thank you, Adam. Dad's our podcast for £2 super chat. Says, here's some fans for Biscuit Kitty. That's an old school subscriber. When we did a cup of tea last night, I felt like I could tell who's been with Hammer's Chat for a couple of years minimum. And Adam, I can tell. Biscuit fun. That's an old school Hammer's Chat thing. Right, a couple more questions before we do it. Please do subscribe if you're new to the Hammer's Chat channel. Please do subscribe and also drop a like on the video as well. Over 1,300 you watching right now, which is mental. I always get a little bit taken back when the figures are that high. But thank you very much for tuning in. Please do drop a like on the video by clicking the thumbs up. And thank you to Brian for the $2 super chat as well. Mancunian said Potter's Brighton side didn't score a lot. They were XG champions, weren't they? I remember that they were creating a lot of chances. They just weren't putting the ball in the onion bag. So hopefully he can fix that. Get the old full crew up and running. Depends what strikers we bring in. Jackie's saying it's because he had Welbeck and Mopey. Yeah, he had Murray and Ferguson eventually as well. Graham says, that's not Graham. Brian, bloody hell, Brian. Not reading that one out. Graham says, our squad is really good. A few of those wins have come despite the tactics, but because of individual moments of brilliance. Nick saying, see you Friday, because he'll be doing the watch along against Aston Villa. And he's done a Graham Potter video, so that'll be going up at some point on one of the 2 channels. Jazza says, can I make a prediction about something that'll happen under Graham Potter? I will say we will become, I don't know how to word this, XG champions, I suppose. I think in 2 or 3 games this season under Potter, we will get beat, but our XG will be greater than the team that has just beaten us. Like a Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace is a bit too soon, so I'm trying to think of another team like Brentford. When we play Brentford again, we might lose 1-0, but the XG will be West Ham 2.42, Brentford 0.64. And I think there'll be a couple of those games between now and then. So bit of a rogue one, I guess. But I don't know if that counts. There you go. That's my Potter prediction. Dave says people forget that he did a great job at Swansea, and many Swansea fans were gutted that he went to Brighton. I recall that. I think the most impressive thing on his CV is what he did in Sweden. We just don't know enough about it. But getting a team from the 4th division to the top division and then qualifying for Europa League is incredibly impressive, regardless of which country you're in, because the players are all relative, right? I know people go, yeah, but Sweden, football's crap. Maybe, but a bit like Ange Postecoglou and those that dismisses what Ange Postecoglou achieved in Australia and Japan. It's all relative. He was using players that were not. It's not like he had Premier League quality players over in Sweden. He had players that were on the level of the 4th division in Sweden. He was using those players to get promoted. It's the equivalent of what Eddie Howe did with Bournemouth or what Keane McKenna has done recently at Ipswich Town. It's incredible achievements because the players are relative to the league you're in. Anyway, there you go. Femmer saying Danish football is good, but Swedish football is not so good. I don't know enough about Swedish football. I'm not going to get involved. All I know is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won the league over there. Anyway, right, I am going to disappear, but massive thank you to those of you who've joined us. We are putting any updates that we get on this, we are putting it on Patreon. I didn't want to do a plug during the video and make the video about Patreon, but if you do want to, you can go to our Patreon, but you can get a week for free. So you don't have to give us any money. Patreon.com/Hammers Chat. We're putting loads of updates up there, and I think we've been first to quite a few of it, like Graham Potter going to the London Stadium, etc., etc. Check it out if you want. If you don't want to, don't. You want to have a freebie. But anyway, Lopetegui, the announcement will be anytime soon that Lopetegui has been sacked by West Ham, and Graham Potter's announcement will come this evening or tomorrow that he's the new head coach of West Ham United. Catch you in a bit.